Hi everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how you can use OpenAI API with Spring Boot Java. So let's get started. So these are going to be the steps that we will be following. The first thing is going to be setting up our Spring Boot project. So for doing that, just go to Google and search Spring Initializer. You'll be getting the first link, startspring.io. Just select that, and in this we will make some changes over here, and we will also add our dependencies. So first thing, this is fine, Gradle Groovy Java. The version, we are just going to change the name alone over here. So let me just have the name as OpenAI Spring, something like this. I'll just copy the name and change it here also. Yeah, I am fine with the packaging and the Java version. Next important thing is we need to add the dependencies. So first dependency that we will be using here is Spring Web, because here we are going to have some APIs. So we are going to have a post operation. So for that we will be requiring Spring Web. So we need this. Just click on this, and the next dependency is going to be Lombok. This dependency basically helps us to avoid using the getters, setters, constructors. With the help of some annotations inside Lombok, we can achieve this. So as it clearly says, right, library which helps reduce boilerplate code. So we will just add this dependency also. And apart from this, we don't need any database like MySQL or MongoDB drivers, because we are not going to use any our own database, right? So these two are good. And once you're done, just click on generate. A zip file will be getting downloaded. So let me just go to my downloads folder and right click and extract the files. Okay. And in case if you want to extract this somewhere else, you can also extract in some other folder. So after this, just open IntelliJ IDEA or your any other preferred editor. So in IntelliJ IDEA, I will just go to file, open, and I will go to my downloads folder. So here you can see I'm having OpenAI Spring. So I would recommend you to go inside the parent folder and open the subfolder in it. Okay. So I'll just click on OK. Trust project, this window. So I'm getting it. So here you can see I'm directly having the source file inside the subfolder here itself. So it will take some time for the Gradle to configure and build. So just be patient for some time. So once it is done, just go to your main Java and your main Spring application and just try running this. Just click on run. So by default, it will be running in port 8080. If you want, you can change it. So here you can see application has started on port 8080, which means that our Spring application has been successfully set up. So we are now done with the first step, and next step is going to be add RestTemplate headers, and for this we need to check the API reference of OpenAI. So for doing that, just go to Google and search for OpenAI, click the first link, and you need to create your OpenAI account, or I hope you will be having your ChatGPT account. Just click on login. So I'm already signed in. Just click on API, and here you need to go to the top profile and you have to click on view API keys. And in this is a place where you will be creating your API keys, and at the top you will be having something called as API reference. Right click and open it in a new tab. This will have the entire documentation of how we will be using all the APIs that are present inside OpenAI. So we are going to do chat. So chat completion is the API that we are looking for. So if I just scroll down over here, under create chat completion, we will be having this example request and response. So if I just move this like this, yeah. So basically we need to create a model for our response as well as request, and this is the header that I told you. This is the API that we are going to hit, and these are the headers for that, and this is going to be the request that we are going to send. For this we will be using the RestTemplate class, which is used to hit external URLs from our Spring Boot. So let's just go and do that. We have got our reference over here, and this is the second step. We need to add RestTemplate. Alright. So for this, just go to your Spring Boot, and I would recommend you to go inside the main file itself, the main application file. So after this, here you will be having the void main. Just come to the next line, public rest template, and you can name it anything. I'll just name it rest template. Open the function, and inside this just create a object of rest template. It's going to be rest template RestTemplate equal to new RestTemplate. Alright, so here we will be setting up headers such as, we just go to the request. Here you can see we are having a header called as authorization bearer OpenAI API key. So the OpenAI API key corresponds to this thing that we are going to create over here. So we need to set this particular thing as a header in our REST template, and that is what we are going to do now. So for doing that, just come to the next line. It's going to be REST template, the object that we have created now, dot, we'll be using the get interceptors dot add, just open circular bracket, and this is going to be like a lambda function. It's going to be request body and execution, open curly brackets, and inside that is going to be request dot get headers dot add, and inside this only we will be adding these things. So I will just recommend you to copy this. So you need to be really careful with the spelling. If you like misspell it, it will throw you an error. So within double quotes, just paste this, just put a comma, and again double quotes, and let me just come to the next line, and this time this is going to be this bearer. Just copy this and paste it, and next one we need to put a space, I guess. Yeah, just put a space after this word, and you need to put a plus, and within double quotes here we need to specify our OpenAI key. So I'll just have this as a word. Later I will be adding this OpenAI key, and now we are good with this. Just put a semicolon over here also, and just come to the next line. It is going to be return execution, this variable that we have over here, dot execute. It's going to be request comma body. So this is like a standard syntax that we'll be using in REST template to create headers. So now we are good in adding the headers. Make sure that you have the gap over here, just a single space, and be careful with the spelling, and later we will be adding the OpenAI API key. And final thing is, here it says we are missing the return statement, because here we are having a function of type return REST template. So it's going to be just come here, return REST template. That's it. So now let's see how we can add our OpenAI API key. So for doing that, I would recommend you to add OpenAI API key in application.properties. So under resources, you'll be having something called as application.properties. Just go here and type OpenAI dot key, and you need to just put a equal to over here, and just go to your OpenAI account, and you need to go to API keys, and you need to just click on create a secret key, and just click on create secret key, and make sure that you copy this and never share this key to anyone. Alright, just click on done, and I will just go here and paste my OpenAI API key. And for using this, just go to your Spring application, and here it's going to be private string. So let me name it as OpenAI API key in camel case, so that it looks good and it's understandable. And here we'll be having the value annotation, value with a capital V, and within double quotes it's going to be dollar, open curly brackets, and after that you need to just copy this thing and you need to put it over here. That's it. So through this way we will be able to access this value by using this variable over here. After that, just copy this variable, and we will just go to the place we are having a placeholder. Just remove this and just put your OpenAI API key variable over here. So this value will be basically like inserting this value to the header, because in the API thing here you can see we are having the OpenAI key over here. So now we are good with the header part. So the next thing is going to be, we need to create the request model. Apart from the header, we are having these as the request body. Okay, so we are having the model name, the messages, which is a list, and inside messages here we will be sending the role user, and here we will be sending our prompt. So this is optional, you can just skip this. Okay, don't mind this thing. We will be sending only this role and content inside these messages. So what you can do is, you can just have this messages as a separate model, because we will be reusing that messages over here also. So here you can see in the response we will be having the same message coming in the response also. That will also have the role and content. So basically I would recommend you to have 3 models totally. One is a model for request, and a model for messages, this thing, and finally a model for response. So 3 models we'll be creating that. So first let's begin with the request model. Alright, simultaneously we will be creating a model for message also. So for doing this, just go to your Spring Boot again, and this time just go inside your main Spring folder, right click, new, and I'll just recommend you to create a package. Just name it as model, hit enter. So you'll be getting a folder like this. Right click again, new, this time give it as Java class, and just name it as chat completion request. That's it, just hit enter. So as I told you, we will be simultaneously creating the messages model also. So this takes in model and messages. So basically we will be having 2 variables inside our chat completion request. So first let's create the message also. So for that, like, right click the same model, it's going to be another Java class, and let me name it as chat message. That's it, just hit enter. So now we are done with this, and this takes in another 2 parameters. Okay, so 2 data members. So it has role and content inside that, this messages thing. So let me just quickly do that. It's going to be private, everything is going to be of type string. Okay, it's going to be role. Make sure that you spell it with the smaller cases, don't add capital, because here they have given it in smaller case. So it's going to be a smaller case. So it's going to be private string content, and we need to also add some annotations, because we are going to skip using the getters and setters and constructors, because that is taken care by Lombok. So for that we will be using 3 more annotations at the top. One is going to be data, and if you aren't going to use this annotation, you need to set getters, setters, you need to manually type everything, the constructor and initialize the values. You need to manually do all those things. So to avoid that, it's better that you use this way over here. So now we are good, we are done with the message, and let's just come to our chat completion request again. So for this, just have the data annotation, because for this we will be creating a constructor. We will be creating a constructor and initializing the values here itself, because the role is going to be default user for most of the time. So it's better that you have a constructor over here and then initialize the values. So first parameter is going to be model. So let me just now copy this thing, private string model. So here we'll be specifying the OpenAI model, and next one is going to be a list. So here you can see it's list of this messages. So it's going to be private list of messages, and our message class name is chat message. So it's going to be chat message, and the variable name that we will be using here is messages. This needs to be like same over here, don't change this at all. It's going to be messages. That's it, and you can just import this list, import class, and import it. That's it. And next is we will be creating a constructor for this, all right, because we are going to assign the values to the role, because role is going to be user most of the cases. So let's just assign the value. So it's going to be a constructor. So for creating a constructor quickly, what you can do is you can just click here, right click, and you need to click on generate, and you can just click on constructor, and you need to just shift down arrow, you'll be selecting both, and you need to just click on OK. So this will basically create us a constructor like this. So we have got a constructor over here, but for this dot messages we will be adding value over here, right? So it's going to be new array list, and we are passing the model and the prompt over here. So remove this, this is going to be string prompt. Okay, so let me just call the this constructor later, so you will understand everything. So this is going to be a new array list, but the array list is going to be of the type the chat message. So just copy this and put it over here. Now we are good, and finally just add the value. It's going to be this dot messages dot add, and here it's going to be new chat message, and inside that we will be having the user. This user corresponds to this variable that we have over here, and comma, this is going to be the prompt. Alright, so what this means is that if I go to this chat message model, here I'm having the role and content, right? So the role will be user and the prompt will take the content. So I'm just sending that prompt over here like this. Content is going to be this variable and the prompt is going to be sent from over here. So this is now fine, well and good. So now we are done with the chat completion request. So this is done. And next thing, I forgot to add a point. Actually, we need to create a post call. So that's also an important thing. I left that point over here. So we need to create that also. So for doing that, you need to just close the model, right click on the main folder. It's going to be new package. I'll just name it as controller, right? Just have the controller created, new Java class, and I'll name it as main controller. And this is going to be the place where we'll be defining our URL. So you'll be having this path, right? So this is the place where we will be doing that. So for this, you need to annotate the class with REST controller. So you need to have this annotation for that class. And inside this, it's going to be a function of post mapping. So it's going to be public, and we are going to return a string over here, public string, and get OpenAI response. So this is what I'm going to have the name, and open bracket, and this is going to be a post mapping. So I'll just have the annotation as post mapping, and I'll just put a path here as slash hit OpenAI API. You can name this anything, whatever you want. I'll just have this way in camel case. Of course, we'll be taking the request body, like from Postman we'll be sending our text like this. So this is going to be the only parameter that we'll be sending. This is going to be a prompt. So just go here, it's going to be at request body, it's going to be of type string, and it's going to be prompt. That's it. This is the only thing that we will be sending. And now inside this, let's just create our chat completion request. It's going to be chat completion request, name the variable equal to new chat completion request. And here you can see in chat completion request, we need to send two parameters. We need to send the model name, and we also need to send the prompt. So for that, we need to go here. The model name is going to be GPT hyphen 3.5 hyphen turbo. Alright, you can have this in a variable, or you can even have this in application.properties. I'm just directly hard coding it over here. And the prompt that we are going to send is coming from our Postman request body. Alright, so just put a comma. This variable should be coming over here. That's it. So this is going to be our chat completion request, and this prompt will in turn go here. This prompt will be this prompt, and this will go to chat completion message, and that prompt will be assigned to this content, because we are having like this role corresponds to user, and this content corresponds to the prompt. Alright, so now we are good. Chat completion request is done, and next thing is going to be the chat completion response. So we need to create a model for that. Just go inside your model, right click, new Java class. It's going to be response. So that's it, and this will also have a few data members. So if we just go to again OpenAI reference, scroll down, here you can see the main thing that we will be getting as response is the choices. This is the most important thing that we need. We don't need these things at all. If you want, you can just add models for this, and you can even get them, but in most of the cases they are not at all needed. They're just having the usage and stuff. We need this choices, so we'll be having a list. This is of type list. Okay, here you can see this has a value as list, and inside choices, here you can see we're having index and messages. So we have already created a model for messages. We can just reuse that. So this is going to be one class, and inside that class we will be creating another class like this. Let's just go into the code now. So it's going to be response So first thing is going to be list, private list, and list is going to be of type choice, and we are going to create this class now, and the variable name is going to be choices, this one. Just have it over here. And next is, as I told you, we'll be creating another class. It's going to be a class, and we'll name the class as choice. Yeah, and this will have two parameters, as I told you. One is going to be index, another one is the messages, then already created messages class. Let's just import this. It's going to be private int index, and it's going to be private chat message, the already created class, and we need to have all the annotations so that we avoid using the constructors and the getters and setters. So you can just copy this and you can just paste it for the subclass also. So now we are done with our response, and final thing is we need to hit our REST template with a URL. That's the only thing pending at the moment. So it's going to be chat completion response equal to REST template. So we need to create a object for REST template over here. So just come to the top. It's going to be REST template, and we need to annotate it with auto wired, and just come down. It's going to be, I'll just go do it in a new line. REST template dot, we'll be using the post for object, and this takes in a few parameters. One is the URL, the request, the class, the response type. So this takes, I guess, 3 parameters. So first is going to be the URL. So for getting the URL, simple, just go to this, and just you need to go up to the request, and here you are having the URL. Just copy this and just go to the code and just paste the URL over here. Alright, and next parameter is going to be the request thing. So this is going to be our request, chat completion request. We have to send this variable also, and the final thing is going to be the response class. So our response class name is this one, chat completion response. So it's going to be chat completion response dot class. That's it. Now we are good. The final thing is we need to return this response to our Postman, right? So that's the final thing, because we are having the return type as string. So we need to send that text alone. So it's going to be response dot, first we will be sending this choices. So in response we are having the choices, and inside choices only we are having our message, and inside message we will be having our content, and that content is the response that we get from OpenAI API, this response, right? So we need to access this thing, which is under choices, under messages, and finally reach content. So it's going to be dot get choices. Under that it's going to be dot get of index 0, because this is a list and we need to get the 0th index. Alright, we need to get the 0th index. Alright, and under that we need to get dot message. Alright, we need to get the message, and finally this message, and under this message we will be having the content. So it's going to be dot get content. So this is like we are going to the next level, like inside that, and we need to also add return. Yeah, don't forget the return. So this is of type string, so we don't get any errors. So that's the code basically, guys. So now let's just try running this. So I'll just copy the path and you need to just rerun it, stop and rerun. I think I missed, yeah, so it says failed REST template. So I need to go to my main application, and I need to have here annotation named bean. So that's the issue. Okay, now it is fine. Let me run it again. So this time here you can see I'm not getting any errors. Started on port 8080. So just go to your Postman now, create a new thing, and you need to just copy the usual things, HTTP localhost, just copy the routine thing, paste it, and we are running at port 8080, have it that, and the call is going to be post for us. Go to body and go to raw rather than text. It's going to be of type JSON, and we are going to have a single prompt because the variable that we are using in our code under our controller is prompt. So this variable, so we need to have the prompt variable there, and here we need to send our text. That is the question we want to ask OpenAI API. So I'll just go with essay on global warming, and final thing, you need to also add the path that we have given in our controller. So this is the path, copy this and put it over here, and now we are good. We have got everything that we need. Change this to JSON. Okay, just click on send. So generally it will take some time for this call to get executed, because we are going to get the entire response from OpenAI API regarding this question. Okay, so just imagine ChatGPT will be getting 2 to 3 paragraphs if we type like this. So this will take some time, and later I will be also showing you how you can minimize the time. Alright, so just be patient now. So here you can see this is the response that I get. It's so much. I think I've got here like literally 10 to 13 paragraph over here. So we have got this much. But in case if you are using for testing purposes, what I would recommend you to do is, I would ask you to go to your code, and here inside request, what you can do is you can just add here another variable. It's going to be private int max underscore tokens. Okay, so by this variable we will be able to limit the response that we get. So a token is basically, I guess, 0.75 of a word. So 100 tokens means 75 words. So we can just restrict the number of words that we get in our response so that we don't overuse our OpenAI credits. So for that you can just assign a number over here, and this should come inside request. Alright, so you can just directly hard code the value. So I'll just give it as 50. Alright, so this means that we will be literally getting 20 to 30 words. That is like just 2 or 3 lines as a response. So just rerun it again, and this time we will be getting a response in a much faster way. Alright, so it has started. I'll clear it and I'll just click on send. Here you can see this is like real time. I'm getting just 3 lines because I have restricted the response, the number of tokens, as 50. If you want to increase this, you can just set it to 100 or 200 depending upon your use case. So this is basically how you use OpenAI's API with Spring Boot and get a response. Alright, so I hope you would have found this video useful. Do check the playlist of my channel. I've done a lot of videos in OpenAI API and Whisper API with Node.js and Python. Check them out, and also a lot of videos in programming and CRUD operations and AI. Also check the playlist of my channel.